Hi guys, my name is Christine and I'm a dating, relationship and personal development coach. And today I'm talking about dumper feelings when the ex moves on. So basically how the person feels that did the dumping feels when their ex moves on with their life. Maybe moves on to a new person, starts dating someone new. And basically is just thriving without the ex that dumped them. So what goes through the dumper's mind, essentially, when that person moves on. So, one of the things what's important to understand about these is that a lot of these are things they may feel initially, and things they may feel over a long period of time. It may be things that they feel straight away, or a few months down the line, or maybe even a few years. It depends, okay? But these are generally the feelings that a dumper will feel during this process, okay? So, one of the things that they will feel, right, especially if they still care, to some degree, is disbelief, right? And what I mean by disbelief is that they're probably going to have their ego hurt a little bit. And basically what that means is that they're probably feeling like, oh my God, how could they get over me? How could they move on from me, right? Even if they don't necessarily think those exact things, they may have that feeling of feeling a little bit put out by the fact that you perhaps moved on quickly with your life, like you got over them fast, maybe you met someone new, things like that. They're going to have that sort of like disbelief of like, I thought they were always going to pine after me, especially if you did a lot of begging or pleading when that person dumped you, right? And you tried to fix things a lot and you was chasing after them. And when you suddenly stopped doing that, they probably had a feeling of disbelief that you had stopped. And even though that may have been what they wanted, perhaps they wanted you to move on, it still may sting their ego a little bit to know that you have moved on with your life and that they're not as desirable to you anymore, and that the fact that you're no longer fighting for them. So disbelief will be one of the feelings that they will most likely feel if they still have some feeling towards you, and still care about the situation. Okay. So another thing that the dumper may feel is possible regret, right? So if they see that you are living a new life and you look really happy and perhaps you're doing really cool, interesting things, perhaps some time has gone by and you've even found someone better than them, perhaps you found someone who's better looking, who's nicer, who has a better job, or whatever it may be, fill in the blanks there, right? So they may regret. They may think, oh no, look how well that person is doing. Look how much fun they're having with their life. Look how fulfilled they seem to be. Look how they're doing all these amazing things, and they're doing so without me. Maybe if I'd stayed with them, maybe I would have been on that journey too. Perhaps we would be on that path together, and that's gonna make them feel regret, right? That may make them feel bad about losing you, and they may even want to try and get you back. Okay, so the other thing that they may feel is also possible feelings of missing you. So they may miss you, they may not, but because that's why I say possible, because they may not be missing you, but if they still care about you, if they still have feelings towards you, then they will at some point probably miss you, right? Especially if they haven't found anyone else yet and they're feeling particularly lonely sometimes, they will miss you. They will have that feeling of missing you and maybe even reminiscing on the past and wishing that they could get back with you. And usually when your ex gets to that point, when the dumper gets to that point of missing you, that is usually when they start to reach out. That is usually when you get the friend request, you get the follow back on Instagram or whatever, they add you again on Snapchat, whatever it may be. That's when they start to try and come back into your life, and you may notice that. So that's one of the first signs that your ex is trying to come back into your life, is if they start to re-add you on things. It could also be that any mutual friends that you guys have may start asking more questions about you, right? Because what could be happening behind the scenes is that they're trying to get the friend to find out more things about you, right? So they can relay that information back so that they can decide whether or not it's worth coming back to you, or seeing what your life is like now, because maybe you're dating someone else and they don't know and they want to find out because they don't want to embarrass themselves or whatever it may be. But anyway, when they get to the point of missing you, that is usually when they start to come back, okay? So obviously as well, there is because you don't know if this person still cares about you, or maybe you do, but if you don't know, then it's possible that they may not actually have feelings of not caring that much at all. They may not care as much as what you would hope that they would want to, because perhaps they're really happy that the breakup happened. Perhaps they're really happy that you've moved on, and perhaps they even feel like good for you. Perhaps they feel happy for you that you've moved on, because especially if you did struggle with the breakup to begin with, and you didn't really want things to end, and the fact that you've moved on, they may be like, oh yeah, I'm glad that they're getting on with life, and things like that. So it may be that they actually don't really care that much at all, or that they're really just super happy for you, especially if they don't have any feelings about towards you anymore. Right? They might have some, right? Because it's very difficult to let go of that tie of being with someone. So they'll probably always care to somewhat of a degree, but may not be enough or as intensely as you may want it to be if you want them to come back. It may be that they kind of just have just sort of like the odd feeling here and there. Perhaps a song comes on the radio and it reminds them of times with you, things like that. But it may not be anything that deep, essentially. That's what I'm trying to put across. Okay. So that leads me into the next point, that is that they will probably reminisce about you from time to time. They will probably, maybe even, if they still care about you and they still love you, they may even have feelings of nostalgia towards you, right? And be thinking of those things and be feeling that way. And again, that's another time when they may actually come back. If they're feeling nostalgic, it may not be for the right reasons, right? Because sometimes people come back into someone's life for the wrong reasons, because of nostalgia, because of the fact that they're missing the wrong things, basically. Instead of, because if you're going to go back to an ex, right? Anyone who's going to go back to an ex, the only time I can see that as being a good possibility and a good idea to do is if there was just a huge misunderstanding and that's why the breakup happened. Or a third party got involved and started messing things up for you guys. That's the only times that I see that it's a good idea to get back with an ex. Because if there wasn't a misunderstanding, or no one else was getting involved in trying to split you two up. So, for example, a misunderstanding may be the fact that they thought that you cheated on them when you didn't. Something like that. But if these things have happened, if third parties have tried to get involved and they messed things up, or it was that, there was a situation where they thought that you did something when you didn't do something, like a misunderstanding, those are really the only times it's a really good idea to get back with an ex. Because if you feel like genuinely you lost a good egg, like a good person who was nice to you, things were great, and then just something happened, this misunderstanding or this third person that got involved, that's when you should really consider getting back with your ex, okay? But sometimes exes come back because they're just simply wanting something familiar with, or they're going back because of nostalgic reasons, right? And because they're looking back at the relationship with rose-colored glasses and not actually the reality of the relationship and what happened. Okay, and that's why I say to you as well, like if you are considering that you would like to get back with your ex, make sure that you're doing it for the right reasons, okay? And you're not doing it for the wrong reasons, like just because you're lonely, right? Or you're just feeling nostalgic, or just because you know that it's familiar to be with them, and you're missing the good old times, right? Because a lot of times people want to get back with their ex because they're too busy reminiscing about the honeymoon period that happened at the beginning of the relationship. Okay, and because they're reminiscing about the beginning of the relationship, they're failing to look at what happened further along the path, which had led to the breakup, which was probably a lot of arguments, perhaps cheating was going on, a lot, just a lot of sadness, a lot of tears, and, because what you'll see with relationships that end is that usually everyone says about these relationships that everything was amazing at the beginning, and then it slowly just went downhill so much that it led to the breakup. But they always think back at the beginning as the best part of the relationship, the best time of the relationship. Now, with relationships that last the test of time, it's, to begin with, it's the exact same situation where there's a honeymoon period and it's amazing, it's lovely. but the relationship gets stronger and better over time, and it's kind of like an upward trajectory where things just get better and better and better. And usually what most people say is that the beginning of the relationship, even though it was an amazing honeymoon period, there was actually a lot of teething problems because you were still getting to know each other and things like that, and you're still getting to know each other's idiosyncrasies and things. But when you started to get to know each other better and better and better over the years and over time, the love and the romance blossomed even more, right? So if things were only good at the beginning of the relationship, where even those teething problems were still there, right? Because it seems like most relationships have the same starting point, that honeymoon period, and in that honeymoon period there is teething problems where you're getting to know each other, but it's still like a really intense romantic situation because it's when you both first got together, right? So even healthy relationships had and bad relationships had those teething problems, where there may have been a few more passionate arguments and things like that. But what the difference is that the healthy relationship, the relationship that was going to last, got better over time, whereas the one that was toxic, the one that was doomed to end, basically got worse over time. Okay, so you got to really consider those things if you are someone that dumped someone, or if you're someone that got dumped and wants their ex back, right? You have to really consider, is this the right decision for me? And usually it's not. Okay, usually the ex is an ex for a reason, and it's a good idea to just stay separated. So thank you so much for watching. If you'd like to get in touch with me personally and you'd like coaching with me, then please go to www.ChristineLoveridge.com. I shall talk to you again very soon. Goodbye.